Hello everybody, here's another Harbor Freight purchase, which is the Central Machinery 4x36 inch belt sander with a 6-inch sanding disc. Again, in typical Harbor Freight fashion, this does have problems out of the box, which if you watch my other videos or if you've purchased much from Harbor Freight, you would understand exactly what I'm speaking about. So I want to do a rundown on this and show you what I found that was wrong with it as it came. And basically this one was $99.99 and it was on sale for $74.99, and I had a 20% off coupon. Look at my receipt here. So tax and all, I got it for $74.86, which was less than the $74.99 that it was on sale. So basically it took care of my tax and then a little bit, just a tiny bit more. But on this, as it came out of the box, it's almost fully assembled. You have to put this table on it right here, peel and stick sandpaper here. This particular guard right here needed to be put on. These 4 rubber feet, there's one on each corner. And it also comes with a miter gauge which fits in here. It doesn't fit very well to the slot, but what do you expect? It came with this little stamped wrench, which is extremely loose to the actual fasteners that are on it, but it did come with it. It came with 2 Allen keys. This particular key here is what you would use to adjust the table in and out. And it came with this other smaller key, which I've not found the location for this particular key. I don't even know if it fits anything. But, of course, it does have issues. The table has been put on and it is tightened up, but it still has a little bit of movement in it. And I know where that problem is, and I'll address that later as the video progresses. Another issue that I have with it is the disc here is not quite true. And depending on what you're doing, that may not matter all that much. I may turn this disc on my lathe. It only has a single set screw and not a double, so when you tighten it up, it kind of wants to cant over a little bit. Moving around into this direction, it came with, I believe, a 80 grit belt, and I'm assuming by feeling this is about a 120 grit here. And if you'll note, there is also a machined hole right here, and what that will allow you to do is move this particular stud, which is holding this table, over to this direction, and you can use it off this while it's in the vertical position, rather than doing this, because once you put this in, there's a flat on one side. You have to get the table in the orientation that you want to use it in. So to change it, it's going to be kind of a bit of a hassle. So I believe what I'm going to do is actually turn out another stud on my lathe, on my metal lathe, and I'll just leave one in here, because I don't see that it would be in the way for anything that you want to do. Now this particular stop right here, you can put it on and use it, if you're going to flatten a piece, to use it as a backstop. I'm actually going to take this off because it's not really going to be usable for my intended purposes. Sorry about the video. This table will also tilt up in the vertical direction this way, so you can sand vertically. And to do that, there is a nut here as well as one way down here. So when you loosen those up, you would elevate the table and tighten them back down into any position that you want to run it at. And in typical fashion, there are things wrong with it. Primarily the sound. When I turn it on, you're going to hear this nasty growling sound, which I need to address. And the other problem I can see with it is the motor appears to be a little bit underpowered. I can actually hold my finger on it, just one finger, flip the switch, and it will not run. When I let it go, it will spin up to speed. You know, so it appears to be a little bit underpowered, but you know, if you let the tool do the work, it'll take you a couple minutes longer, and it seems to work all right through my testing. You know, but for what I got it for out the door, I really can't complain. You know, a lot of their quality control is not quite there, and that reflects in the price. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and flip it on and let you hear the sound it's making. Here we go. I'm sure you can pick up that clacking noise. I can get it to stop by touching this, and I'm feeling some vibration out of it. I want to go ahead and turn it off. I've already addressed where it is, and I'm going to explain that to you here in a moment. Another issue that I found with it is this particular thumb screw here to adjust the tracking of the belt. Very difficult to turn, shouldn't be that hard, so I need to address that and figure out what's going on there. I will note that there is no washer behind this plastic thumb wheel and this particular bracket, as well as on the table adjuster here, there's also no washer behind it. Don't really think it matters at this point, you know, on this particular one. And you can adjust the table in any desired degree you want, I believe up to 45 degrees. So I'll just lock this back down. I'm going to reposition the grinder and take the sander and take the belt off of it, and I'll show you what I've discovered. Okay, the belt has been taken off of the sander, and what I discovered with this idler wheel here, when I spin it, you probably cannot see this on the video, but it is nowhere close to being eccentric to the shaft it runs about. So what that is basically doing is moving in and out both ways actually, and it's causing the belt to tighten up and loosen up, which is causing this pin to move in and out. I can visibly see it, and what that is doing in turn is when you have it in the position like this and there's tension on the belt, this particular rod right here is dancing back and forth in this slot and causing all that vibration. So what I intend on doing is taking this off and turning it true in my lathe. Now I was going to take this back to Harbor Freight and replace it, and they didn't have any other ones in stock, which might be a blessing in disguise, because when I went back and looked at the actual display model, it was tons worse than the one I actually received. So I'm just going to make the assumption that the one that I received is the pick of the litter, and it's the best one they have to offer, and I'm going to turn this down and make it run true. Now on the back wheel, the drive wheel, it didn't appear just by visually inspecting that it was that bad. So what I'm going to do is address this one, and then if I still have any issues, I may go ahead and turn the one on the back. Now to turn it in the lathe, I still want it to remain concentric, and there are 2 ball bearings in here. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to turn this all as one unit, because I do not want to take it off and then try to chuck it up in the lathe and then come back and still have an issue. So I want to turn it all in place. And this wheel is like an ABS plastic or something, and I believe what's happening there is when they're injecting their molds, they're ejecting it out of the mold too quick, and it's causing some deformation on this, and it is extremely noticeable from where I'm at. Now it's my experience that these wheels should also have a crown on them to help center the belt when you adjust the tracking. You know, this thing is difficult to get it to track right, and I put a straight edge across here, and there appears to be no crown in this at all. And if you can note, it's actually lower in the center, so it's convex. I'm sorry, it's concave instead of convex like I think it really should be. And it hadn't even been touching in this area where the mold halves were. You can see this line right here. That's where the molds, it was injected. They split the molds and pushed the part out. So I'm going to do a flat turn first just to save the material on this and see how it operates. And if it's still giving me a headache, I'm going to go in and put a small crown on this. And I think on this one I may actually go ahead and show the turning procedure, and how I have it set up. So if anybody else wants to try to do this, and then you actually do in fact have a metal turning lathe, you can run this out and fix it. I'm assuming that most people that buy one of these are probably woodworkers. I certainly don't have the skill to try to make that a flat surface across here using woodworking tools. You know, I'm just not really a woodworker, even though I do dabble in it. I'm not a lathe turner for that matter. Maybe a pen. So I'm going to address this as the video moves on, and we'll see what we can make this thing do. Okay, I wanted to do a short clip. I was speaking about the run out that was in the front idler wheel. I went ahead and set up my dial indicator rig on it just so you could see actually how bad it is from this particular point. So I have my indicator zeroed, and I'm going to slowly turn this wheel, and you can see we have about 21 thousandths of run out on this particular side or so. So you can see actually it's not concentric, and that's how bad it is on one side, about 21 thousandths, maybe 21 and a half, just kind of depends on where you look at it. So I'm going to move it to the other side and see what we get over there. So it's going to take me a moment to do that. So I'll go ahead and reposition this indicator. And I'm going to move my camera over just a little bit so we can get in there and see it. And I need to find my low spot. Well, there's more than one low spot. Okay, we'll try this one right here, and let me zero this out. Okay. Well, you can see from this point we're running up to about 12 thousandths. We come back down to about 0, and then we bump up to about 19 thousandths. And then we jump down to about 14, 13, back up to 15, and down to 0. And you can see how this is not running smooth up and down, up to a point and back, which would tell us, you know, that we are not concentric. By the way, this gauge here is reading right now. That's telling me that this thing is actually egg-shaped on one side. It's not that it's just oblong. It's an egg. So I just wanted to see that, because the video, you know, wasn't really conveying what I was being able to see by my eye. So I just wanted to put this up and make sure that, you know, you could actually see what my problem was. So now we'll move on and see where we're at. Okay, I'm going to talk about taking this particular wheel off here and what you're going to need to do that. Obviously you need to get it in the vertical position such as so, and get your belt off the side. This one particular bolt right here is what holds this whole assembly in here. Now don't just start taking that out if you have it in the tension position, or the release tension position, because you might get a surprise when that spring jumps out of there. So what we're going to do is make sure you have this lever in the downward position. It'll release most of the pressure off of this. And you simply just need to take a 10mm socket on a ratchet, and we're going to go ahead and take this out. And I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure on here because there is still a little bit of tension, but it's not too bad right now. And there it is. It started to pop out. And go ahead and take that nut the rest of the way, that bolt the rest of the way out. And there it is. And this arm will come out, and then slowly release, and there we go. Now we can pull this out through the top. You might hold your spring and washer so you don't lose it. You can set these aside, and now we have the piece in the hand. So I'm going to reposition the camera, and I'm going to go ahead and show how to remove the rest of this. It's self-explanatory, but if you've watched any of my videos, I try to cover every aspect to eliminate questions, and there are folks out there who maybe are not that mechanically inclined. So I try to give more information than possible to eliminate any possibility of doing something wrong.